name's Amelia, and I have an unhealthy obsession with moss.
I just want to look like I've been in an enchanted slumber deep in a forgotten hollow in the woods for the past 500 centuries or something, you know.
So basically, I saw Rachel Maxey make a moss corset on her channel, and it was really cute, and I want one. Saw Rachel Maxey make a moss corset, so I made a moss corset. So basically what I want to make is a little fashion stays with embroidered moss, and also a shirt to wear under it in a similar color. I want the shirt to be a bit less found on the forest floor look, a bit more casual, something I can wear in my everyday life. So I have these things. I got them at a theater costume shop sale. I don't know what they were. They have these ties on them. I don't know if they were like capes or something, but they're like a weird shape if they were capes. But I've got this like, feels like a cotton poly, moss sagey green color with this tie on it. I'm gonna remove that. And then I've got this one that's a very similar color in this like crushed velour, very juicy couture tracksuit, but make it swamp. And it also has a little tie, but it also has these little holes. I don't know what they're for. Are they tiny little armholes? Is it a dog costume? I have no idea. This is what I'm gonna do for the stays. So the shirt's gonna be made out of this and just be like a cute little simple blouse with some pin tucks and maybe a little ruffle on the collar. And then this I'll make the stays out of and do some embroidery to make them mossy. Okay, so this is what I have in mind for the top, for the blouse that goes underneath. Just some nice big droopy sleeves, some little pin tucks down the front, and a little like ruffle or lace detail at the collar. And then this kind of idea for the stays where it's just really simple stays, and then I'll embroider them with moss. I started working on the shirt first. To make the pattern, I just used a shirt that I already owned that I really liked the fit of and traced that. And then once I had all the pattern pieces cut out, I started working on the mock-up. So I made a really quick and dirty mock-up. I have some old bed sheets, and I think the fit of the front is pretty good. I like the way the pin tucks are looking. I don't need to add extra width to the pattern like I thought. Pretty happy with the collar, I think. Might tweak it a little bit. I'm not sure, but I'll think about that a bit more. The sleeves are the main problem. I don't think I want a little puffiness, so I need to make the sleeve head smaller, and I want more volume down here at the elbow. So I need it to be, I want them more like droopy, not puffy. It's a delicate, fine line. So I think they need to be wider and a little bit longer so I can get a little bit more of the droopy, saggy pear shape. Yeah. But yeah, overall, it's looking pretty good, I think. So I redrafted the sleeve pattern to make sure that the sleeve head fit the way I wanted it to, and I tweaked the collar pattern a little bit. And then I cut the sleeve pattern into strips and spread those out so I could widen it out to make the droopy puff sleeve that I wanted. So I have altered the sleeve on my mock-up. I like it a lot so far. I want it to be a little bit shorter, so I want it to sit like just above my elbow. So I need to shorten the pattern, but I also like this level of fullness. The gathers right above the cuffs, so I need to keep that width. So I'll make it shorter and wider, like a little teapot, short and stout.
My needs. You and your brother should be safe here while I work.
Candy trail, candy trail, candy trail.
So that's not gonna work. I can fit the front and the back and the collar, but definitely not the sleeves. I need 4 of these, 2 of them on the fold. I do not have enough fabric for that. So I'm gonna dig around through my fabric, see if I can find contrasting or another fabric I can use for the sleeves. I don't know how it's gonna go. Maybe I'll do the sleeves and the collar in a different fabric. I'll see what I can find. So, that didn't work out. I didn't find anything. I also don't think it's gonna look very good. So I think I'm just gonna make this shirt with like a dolman sleeve, so it's gonna be like a little, not what I had in mind, but it'll still be cute. I ended up using this old white cotton bed sheet to make the shirt, so not the swampy green vibes I was hoping for, but it still ended up pretty cute, and I happen to have just enough for the whole shirt. So I've cut out all my pieces and I've marked where I want the pin tucks to go on the fronts. So I'm going to sew those in now, get them all pressed nice and sharp, like a pin. So they're pin tucks. Yeah, gonna sew some pin tucks. So I've got the body of the shirt made, got the front panels on, the back, got the shoulder seams finished, flat fell, got the collar attached. So now it's time for me to do the sleeves. So I'm going to gather up the bottom edge and then sew on the armband. And then set the sleeve onto the body of the shirt and then sew up the side seams. And then I might do a little detail on the collar. Not sure, but I'll check back in when I'm at that point. Shirt is done pretty much. I have to do buttons and buttonholes, but I'm putting that off till later because I don't want to do it. But yeah, I really like it. The pin tucks look really cute. The sleeves are exactly what I wanted. They're not full up at the shoulder, they're just full at the elbow. They're a little bit loose, but I can get them on over my hands without having to have like buttons on the cuff, which are the devil. The collar is sitting a little bit weird. They're kind of pointing in a little bit too much. I want to point out, I think I just need to press it a little bit better because I didn't try very hard the first time. Speaking of the collar, I have thoughts, I have plans for this. I'm gonna do a little crochet lace edge on this, stitch onto the collar and embroidery floss, and then crochet onto that to make a nice little dainty frilly edge. Okay, so it's a new day. I'm getting ready to work on the actual moss corset today. I ended up not using the green fabric for the shirt because there wasn't enough, but this means I can use this as the lining for the corset, so that's kind of good. I also have this pink linen, I believe, canvasy kind of material that I used to make an actual pair of stays some time ago that were like fully boned 17th or 18th century stays. So it's not, this was the outer layer, so it's not as sturdy as the like inner layer coutil in those stays were, but it's a lot sturdier than stretch velour. I'm kind of wondering about the order of operations for this, how much I should be assembling it before I start embroidery, because I need to baste, or I need to flatline this with this, and sew boning channels, so I can cover all the back and bias, but just slip stitch them together. That's fine. I think that's a good idea. So I think I'll flatline this with this, do the embroidery, then add the lining, sew the boning channels, leaving a little excess at the top and bottom, and then I can fold them under and then just whip stitch them so I don't have to do bias binding. I think that's a good plan. I hope that's a good plan. Before I can do any of that, I need to actually pattern it, so I need to make a mock-up. Cool? Cool? Cool.
So I cut out all my pattern pieces, and then I flatlined the velour with the canvas inner lining, and then I sewed all those pieces up together.
It's kind of giving Kermit vibes.
So then I put masking tape along the front edge where I was eventually going to be putting the eyelets before I started embroidering on the moss, so I wouldn't embroider over where I was putting the eyelets. Kind of weird, but it worked, so I regret nothing. I decided to start embroidery right smack dab at the center front of the piece, so I hooped up a section and then found the swampiest of green embroidery floss in my collection. There's a couple different ways I've seen people do embroidered moss. I decided to use French knots, which are very slow and fiddly, but I think they look good and I'm willing to suffer.
I know I've got kind of a ways to go. I've only done a little patch, but it's coming along quite nicely so far. I'm going to try and do a little bit of a gradient for this patch, so have it more dense with this shade of green up top, and then kind of fade into a different one. I'm not sure if I'm going to go darker or lighter. Ooh, that one's not necessarily lighter, but we've got options. We'll figure it out. Got time to experiment and play around. Our first little patch of moss. Ooh, she looks cute. Now just a bajillion more little knots to go.
And so I did a bajillion more little knots, and then a bajillion more after that, and a bajillion more after that. It's pretty slow and repetitive, so please enjoy this time-lapse footage. Finally, all the embroidery was done, so I assembled the lining pieces and then sewed that layer onto the rest of the corset, just on the sides and bottom edge, leaving the top edge with the straps open so I could turn the piece right side out. So then I sewed my boating channels. I decided to put 2 at the center front and 1 at each side just to add a little bit of structure. I just used plastic zip ties as boning because I'm cheap, so I just put each one in, marked the length, minus a little bit for seam allowance, and then cut each one to length, and then trimmed the cut edge to make it all nice and round so it wouldn't poke through the fabric. And then I closed the top edge with a little more tedious hand sewing. And then it was time to do the eyelets. I decided to do these by hand with embroidery floss because I'm a masochist, so I marked points equal distance apart and then poked holes with an awl and then stitched them up with embroidery floss, which was, you guessed it, more tedious hand sewing. So I'll just cut to the chase and get right to the reveal.